What's up, everyone? This is Prasanna Balakrishnan back again. And IPL is back. The Indian Cricket Festival is back. And we have all been waiting for this for such a long time. Last year, IPL had to be pushed out of India due to COVID reasons. This time also, there is COVID reasons. Fans are not allowed. No team has a home advantage. But the fact that it's happening in India itself is probably a blessing in disguise. Um, I'm going to be previewing Chennai Super Kings versus Delhi Capitals. That's the first game, which is going to be happening on Saturday, 7:30 p.m. IST. And as usual, we have got with ourselves a very good friend of mine, a Delhi Capitals fan, Gurkirat Singh Gill. Gurkirat, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. Good to know you, Prasanna. I hope you are doing well. Well too. I hope your family is good in these uncertain times. And
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, it's good to have the IPL back in the country. But yeah, I think what would have been even better was if crowds would have been available. But unfortunately, the situation is not such that you can have crowds. So yeah, you have to go with whatever is the best possible scenario and hope that the pandemic settles down and IPL sort of gives us a good time to relax, a good time to switch off, and probably spend some time uh, watching the game we love and keep talking about it, because in such times where people are in quarantine, can't really move out much, you need that kind of a break to sort of relax, and it can be sometimes very, very important.
Yeah, it is very important, especially it's kind of the Indian thing, like you have a long day at work and then evening 7:30 you sit in front of the TV and then the IPL starts and basically till 11 o'clock that's your thing. Nothing else comes in the way. And even it's a weekend getaway when they have double headers. So looking forward to it. Let's talk about Delhi Capitals at the start. Ever since they changed their name 2 years ago, um, even then the players have been good. Your team has been performing well. 2018, you lost out in the qualifier two. Last year, you lost out in the final, and this year also, you have a very good team, but you do have your captain Shreyas Iyer out, which is a very, very, very big blow. And so, how do you think Shreyas Iyer has impacted this team ever since he has taken over captaincy?
See, it is a blow, but I still don't think that it is a blow that is something that Delhi can't recover from. Because if you purely talk from an experience point of view, there are enough players who have more experience than Shreyas Iyer. If
Yeah.
you see, there is Shikhar Dhawan, who's been around for 8 years. There is Ishant Sharma, who's played 100 Test matches for the country. He has a lot of experience. Ravichandran Ashwin is also one very experienced player. He's been around for more than 10 years now. There is Steven Smith. There is Ajinkya Rahane. Ajinkya Rahane has showed, what it is to lift a side that is battling with injuries. There's Amit Mishra, who's an IPL veteran. If
Exactly.
the second player to get more than 150 wickets in the IPL. So if you talk of experience wise, I don't think that Delhi can't recover from it. There are enough players to add that experience and value. Even somebody like Kagiso Rabada, who's young, who's 25, 26, but he's also been in the international cricket circuit for 6 years now. So enough depth of experience. In terms of quality, also there are a few good batsmen. There is Shimron Hetmeyer, there is Marcus Stoinis, Sam Billings has been signed up, Steven Smith has been signed up. So I think it can also be taken as a blessing in disguise, because Shreyas was batting in the top three. Somebody like a Marcus Stoinis and Shimron Hetmeyer were not batting in their preferred positions, which were also in the top three. They were batting at 5 and 6. So I think it is a blow, but it's not something that should derail the Delhi campaign. They've also signed up to uncapped Indian players in Vishnu Vinod and Ripal Patel. Vishnu Vinod also is a good player, has been doing well in the domestic circuit. So is Ripal Patel. So there's enough opportunities. Somebody like a Lalit Yadav also has had a very good Syed Mushtaq Ali tournament. So, like I said, it's a blow, but it's not something that should derail the campaign or make Delhi feel okay. Where do we go from now? Also, if you see, Delhi as a setup in the last couple of years has been much more coach centric, unlike what Chennai Super Kings is. Chennai Super Kings is a more captain centric setup
Yeah.
where he calls the
Yeah.
shots. But if you see how the Delhi system functions, the Delhi Capitals franchise, it's more to do with the coach. So I am just happy that they've gone for a captain who's going to be a certainty in all 14 games, rather than going for an Ajinkya Rahane or Steve Smith. I would have preferred for them to go for a Ravichandran Ashwin, but like I said, it's a more coach centric setup, and Ravichandran Ashwin is also a very strong personality. Not sure how the two people in Ponting and Ashwin could have gotten well together. Maybe we could have seen, an unfortunate situation that we saw in 2008 IPL between John Buchanan and Saurav Ganguly. So I think the decision that has been taken is probably the best one. And as a Delhi fan, I hope that they go one better than last time, and plug in those holes that were there. And I think they've made a decent attempt to do that.
You made some excellent points there. And talking towards the first game and even towards the rest of the IPL, obviously, players like Rabada and Norka, who were an integral part of a team last year, they were one of the main reasons why a fast bowling department has been doing so well. He went to the finals. They will obviously not play the first game because they just landed today in India after completing international duty. So how do you, and obviously Shreyas Iyer is out for the season. Akshar Patel mostly may not play the first match. Um, Taking all these things into consideration, how do you think your team will probably shape up for the first game?
See, the these are few big blows because Akshar Patel was also a constant last season, and over
Yeah.
the last couple of seasons, his economy rate has been quite good. Last season, he gave runs at less than 7 runs an over. Also, he adds some value with the bat at number 7. So of course, it's a big miss. But considering Delhi are going to play in Mumbai, where you need where batting rules the roost, and considering the replacements that Delhi have for Rabada and Rick Nokia, are Tom Curran and Chris Woakes. I don't see much merit in playing both of them because honestly speaking, I don't see both of them being good enough to bowl at the death. In the absence of Rabada and Nokia, it's the biggest miss for Delhi or the biggest headache is going to be death bowling. So I'll try and strengthen my batting so as to make sure that whatever lacks in the bowling. Say if the bowling gives those 20 extra runs while bowling first, the batting can make up for it. Or if they are batting first, they score those extra 20 runs to sort of give that comfort to the bowling attack. So for me, the four foreigners that would play would be Hetmeyer, Stoinis, Billings, and Vokes with one of Hetmeyer or Stoinis batting at 3, the other at 5. Then you have Sam Billings at 6, Chris Vokes at 7. And then you have four bowlers in Ashwin, Amit Mishra, Ishan Sharma, and Umesh Yadav. So you have a bowling attack that goes for wickets so that, till the last 4 5 overs, you try and, have the opposition 5 or 6 down to minimize the damage, that can be caused in the death overs because if it comes to death bowling, then Delhi are going to struggle in the absence of Nokia and Rabada, without a doubt. Because we've seen how Umesh has bowled at the death in the IPL. Tom Curran also hasn't done well enough. His economy rate in the last 4 overs is more than 11. Ishan Sharma also hasn't really bowled much for Delhi in the death, and this it's probably one of the reasons why he's not played in India colours in the limited overs for a very long time. So, death bowling is without a doubt a concern. There is no denying that fact.
Yeah, speaking of which, death bowling is also a concept for Chennai because we will also not have in Lungi Ngidi or probably our two best bowlers currently are probably Shardul Thakur and Deepak Chahar. You obviously know Hazelwood. He has opted himself out of the tournament. And apart from that, the only other two bowlers, fast bowlers, not really fast, but medium fast bowlers, you can say are Dwayne Bravo and Sam Curran. But Dwayne Bravo, over the years, we know how great an exponent he is of death bowling. But I think off late, his death bowling has been a bit leaky. So I think even Sam Curran, I think Sam Curran has been a pretty good addition. Last year, he was probably one of the shining lights in a very disappointing campaign for CSK. So it would be interesting to see how both dead bowling uh, does in the game because Deepak Chahar is not a great is more of an opening bowler. Probably bowls like 2 or 3 overs at the top of the innings.
Yeah, a lot of times MS Dhoni just bowls him up his 4 overs straight away front up because he knows that he doesn't have the pace or the Yorker to
Yeah,
trouble the batsman as well. And it's going to be something similar with Sam Curran as well. Even though he can bowl the Yorker, but the pace at which he bowls at, I have always felt that the margin of error becomes even lesser because he's bowling
yeah.
in the 130s. Sometimes if you're bowling a full line delivery in the 140s, you have a greater margin of error because of the pace that you bowl at. We have seen, sometimes the likes of Kagiso Rabada, Navdeep Saini, they've missed their lengths at the death, but they still haven't gone for runs because of the pace they bowl at, because batsmen don't
Exactly.
have that much time. But with someone like a Sam Curran, you that 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 margin of error of missing the line or the spot becomes even more minimal than what it is already. And I feel somewhere that someone like T Natarajan will also struggle with this in this IPL, because what happens is when you are playing your first season, a lot of teams haven't studied you or don't know much about you. But now teams are going to come prepared for you, so it would be interesting to see how he goes as well this time this season, because I've always felt that you need a certain amount of pace to bowl at the death. Someone like a Sandeep Sharma, even though has a good Yorker, but because he bowls in the 120s and 130s, is the reason why he sometimes goes for a lot of runs when bowling at the death. Because if he misses the Yorker, then it becomes a very juicy full toss or a half volley.
That's the problem. Even the likes of Dwayne Bravo, he's not an express pace kind of bowler. He is also like a medium pace bowler, which when you miss the mark, you will definitely go for runs because the batsmen have enough time to pick their spot. That is one of the biggest problems. And so let's
Also,
go into
he's becoming a
yeah, go
lot
on.
more predictable with those slower balls.
Yeah,
And with Chennai playing in 3 games, I think they're playing. I'm not sure if they're playing 3 or 5 games, but with Chennai playing games in Wankhede and in Eden, I'm not
yeah.
sure his slow balls are going to be that effective, because these are very true pitches. The ball really doesn't stop; it comes on through the bat brilliantly. So you need those hard lengths and those Yorker lengths to contain the batsman at the death.
We're actually playing our first 5 games in Mumbai.
Yeah,
So then we moved to Delhi, and then it's Bengaluru, and then we finally ended at Kolkata. So even in Kolkata, it's not a even Kolkata and Bengaluru. Speaking of which, they're not great bowling venues. They're
yeah,
more of like a batsman's paradise. If you
yeah.
if
Only Delhi is a venue that is a little similar to what Chepauk offers, but the boundaries in Delhi are just very small. Chepauk does have longish boundaries on one side where spinners can
yeah.
come into. In Delhi, it's just 60 meters, so it becomes difficult for the spinners.
So let's go into some stats a little bit. I'll probably like share a screen of a few things we can probably talk about. Um, so these are basically average first innings T20 scores in Wankhede Stadium. We can see. I'm sure you're able to see this, right?
Yeah, I'm able to see it.
Yeah. So basically, in 2018, 2019, 2017. So you're able to see 175, 171, 176. So anything below that 170 mark, if you're bowling first, the game is 50% won there, unless you have an extreme batting collapse. But if you probably give it the range of like 200, 210, it's probably harder to chase because you have to basically hit from ball one. And if you lose a wicket very early, it becomes even more difficult for you. So what do you think either team? So what do you think the best bet at Wankhede is, chasing or batting first? What do you reckon?
It has to be chasing. Especially even more so if you look at the bowling attacks of both the teams. Uh, it has to be chasing. Also, you have to keep in mind that there could be dew, and both the teams are going to rely on spinners. Delhi are going to rely on Ashwin and Amit Mishra. Chennai might play even 3 spinners. Say Ravindra Jadeja might play. A Karan Sharma might play. I'm not sure if a Sai Kishore might play.
You
There's
can talk even
obviously,
Moin Ali or Krishna Gautam.
yeah, I was coming to them. There's Moin Ali, there's Krishnappa Gautam, there's Mitchell Santner, there is Imran Tahir. So also, if someone has followed Chennai Super Kings and MS Dhoni's career, you know how much MS Dhoni loves to play with the spin bowling resources.
Yeah,
So, regardless of which team wins the toss, I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to choose to bowl first.
yeah,
And I think that if teams are able, if any team is able to restrict the other around 180, 180 would be a 50-50 thing, or probably I'll still say it would be in favor of the batting side, because both the teams do really struggle with death bowling, and
yeah.
unless the pitch is something where the ball is gripping, or there's something happening off the pitch, I really don't see much happening. On the other hand, with Delhi, what I think is that if there is any assistance of the pitch for the seamers, which is the case sometimes at Wankhede, especially under lights,
Yeah.
then their pacers can make use of it, because the good thing is the likes of Umesh and Vokes and even Ishant, they have that pace to extract that extra bounce, and also maybe extract a little bit of seam of the pitch. So Delhi Pacers can actually do some damage in the power play, but once the power play uh, is negotiated, then it can be really a party time for the Chennai batsmen.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned Umesh. I think he is one of the bowlers who has kind of like taken to swing bowling in the early overs. You saw Kohli use him effectively in 2018, 2019, at least for the start when he was able to get a bit of swing. I still remember one game in like, I think it was 2018 or 2019, where RCB were bowling first and he kind of picked up 2 wickets in the first 2 balls before Rohit Sharma scored a
Yeah, that
massive
was
knock.
in one day only.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
got
yeah.
Surya Kumar Yadav out, and he got
Ishan
Ishan Kishan
Kishan.
out. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
two
took a
wickets
wicket
in two
there.
balls. And as well, we were talking about teams batting first and batting second over the last 10 years at Wankhede. It's not much of a difference, but I think if you're probably batting first and winning, you have to have a very good bowling attack, or the batting side, you have to pick up the early wickets, say probably like 2 or 3 wickets in the power play. Else the game would probably be over. Because
See, also, yeah,
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 yeah, go
go
on.
on, go on. I think that looking at a data from last 10 years also doesn't give you the true picture, because the game has moved a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
The game has really changed a lot in the last 5 years. I'm sure that if we look at the data from the last 5 years, the split would be 65% of the games matches being won by the team batting second, and maybe 35 by the team batting first. If you look at the last 5 years only.
Yeah, that's another true fact. So I'll probably stop screen here. So again, head to head, obviously CSK Delhi, we have played 23 matches so far. CSK lead 15-8. But last year Delhi, they won both games over us. First game they won quite comfortably, scoring 175, and they you won by 44 runs. And even the second game at Sharjah, we didn't make a quite a game out of it. And last over, Delhi required 17. Before, unfortunately, Bravo had to go out, and Jadeja had to bowl to Akshar Patel. And basically, a spinner bowling at Sharjah is basically a gamble. If there are hardly any chances of it pulling off, and because we all know Sharjah is a pretty small pitch, small ground, sorry. Even a miss hit can easily go for six. And before that, 2019, we beat you 3 times, both in the league stage as well as qualifier two. Two big head-to-heads I'm looking forward to. One is, of course, you'll see at the start of innings, Deepak Chahar versus Prithvi Shaw, and the second one I'm seeing at Jadeja versus Smith. Let's see at first one. Any other matchups you're eagerly looking forward to apart from these two?
No, not really, because maybe Ashwin versus Raina could be a good battle, or Ambati Raidu versus Amit Mishra could be a good battle if Amit Mishra takes the field. But yeah, the matchup between Deepak Chahar and Prithvi Shaw is pretty one-sided. That I know, because in 5 games, Prithvi Shaw has gotten out to him 4 times. In fact, in the one game that he didn't get out to Deepak Chahar was when nobody in Chennai appealed
Yeah.
the first game. So it could have been 5 out of 5. So yeah, swing bowling is something against which Prithvi Shaw has struggled. I hope he has worked on it, but yeah, it will remain to be seen. Apart from that, the other matchup that you talked about, Jadeja versus Smith. I think Jadeja versus Smith is a good battle if you consider test matches. In T20s, I think Jadeja really has to work on his bowling, because his strength in test matches is bowling that wicket to wicket line at the same pace and not giving anything away. But that can become a weakness if in T20s, because batsmen are able to line you up. There is not much variation that Jadeja does off the pitch or in the air, and hence, if you see his numbers last year when while bowling were pretty poor. I think for 3 consecutive games he went for over 40 in his 4 overs.
I mean, the team itself last year was like pretty haphazard. I mean, like we were never consistent. We won our first game, then lost the next 3 games. It was like one win, one loss, and probably two losses. And we didn't win like 2 games in a row until the last 3 games. So we won the last three in a row. That that kind of consistency in a 14-game season is not going to help you anywhere qualify for the playoffs. Anyway, if you look at the law, and that's probably the reason why Mumbai, Delhi, and all did what they did, because Delhi, they were consistent. They played really good brand of cricket, and that's how you go through the playoffs. I think you need to have a pretty consistent run, probably say 4 or 5 games in a row. If we have that, then playoffs is probably kind of secured in the bag. And even in the what I said, Prithvi Shaw versus Deepak Shah, the first game in 2020, that's why Prithvi Shaw he scored a brilliant knock, and that's why the game was probably won there. So and at kind of like no one hear a sound when Prithvi Shaw kind of nicked it. It was like only in the snicko it was clearly shown that um, he clearly got a nick. But apart from that, and both teams they have good batting, but they struggle with their bowling big time. So it will be probably a contest to see who will kind of say restrict the other team below 170 or 160, and then take the game from there. And we obviously know about Prithvi Shaw. He's had a fantastic Vijay Hazare tournament. He even talked about once, like after the first test in Australia, where he got out kind of to the same ball, the ball coming in, and the big gap between bat and pad, and even his feeling was out pretty substandard. And then he went back, he kind of reassessed himself, and now he's a different player altogether. Vijay Hazare Trophy, we saw he's the highest scorer. So, what do you make of Prithvi Shaw, and how do you see him faring this season, alongside probably Ashika Dhawan? Because I think probably both of them will open the innings.
See, when it comes to the likes of Prithvi Shaw, Devdutt Padikkal, Shubman Gill, I am really not a huge fan of studying their domestic numbers at this moment, because they've already shown that they're a league above, the level of domestic cricket that is played in India. Because
Yeah,
despite their technical limitations or shortcomings or weaknesses, they're good enough to succeed at that level. How he goes around in this IPL will tell us that how far he's improved, because IPL is a different ball game. You have international bowlers bowling at you who can actually work you out much more easily and much more quickly than what bowlers at a Ranji Trophy or a Vijay Hazare or a Syed Mushtaq Ali level would do. I'm sure there is going to be an hunger for Prithvi Shaw to do well. Similarly, there's going to be an hunger for Shikhar Dhawan to do well, because he's been dropped from the T20 side. So a lot to look forward to for both the players. But yeah, I'd back them to do well, and hopefully they come good.
okay, so let's get a 1 to 11. Um, you go first. What do you see the playing 11 for the game on Saturday?
For Delhi,
Yeah,
uh, it would be, like I said, it would be Shaw, Dhawan, Hetmeyer, Pant, Stoinis, Sam Billings, Chris Wokes, uh, Ravichandran Ashwin, Amit Mishra, Ishan Sharma, Umesh Yadav. That would be my 11. That would be
given
my
the
11. Yeah, but I think there's a possibility that Delhi might play Steven Smith, in place of a Billings or a Hetmeyer. But yeah, but my 11 would be the one that I spoke of.
seems a pretty good lineup, and I'll go for my CSK 11. Opening of Faf du Plessis and Ruturaj Gaikwad. We saw how that was good at the back end of the season, so I'll probably continue with that. Raina is back. So that's a very, very big advantage for us, even though he hasn't had much cricket. Um, in the last, he's not even played domestic circuit. He has to play. So I think it'll probably take like 3 or 4 games to come into rhythm. Till he probably we see the Raina that we all know. Raina, and then it comes to Raidu, then Dhoni at 5, Sam Curran, Jadeja, Bravo, Chahar, and Thakur. Probably, um, this is the thing. This is the lineup I was kind of thinking earlier. But if you want to like kind of force Moeen Ali or Krishnappa Gautam into the side, it will probably have to be at the expense of Dwayne Bravo, because Faf du Plessis and Sam Curran are the two foreigners they will definitely start, and the other two foreigners. I'll probably pick Tahir because of his experience and whatnot. Because even though he's 42 years of age, he still has that experience, and he has bowled on pretty much all kinds of pitches. So it will be very interesting to see. And we'll get into the last part, which is the predictions. Um, what do you see Delhi doing if they win the toss? Bowl first and restrict the opposition to 160, 170 and get them done, or do you see them batting first and probably getting a big score, like say a 200 or 210, and probably defending it?
No, so if they win the toss, they'll definitely bowl first. And even if say Chennai score 180, they'd back themselves to chase it. I think anything under 200 should be chaseable for Delhi. They should back themselves to chase it at a ground like Wankhede. Anything under 200. If it's around 180, then they definitely fancy their chances.
Yeah, and as you mentioned in your lineup as well, you've got players like Hetmeyer, who we know is a very good player, but that he needs to get settled in. Once he gets settled in, he's a different monster altogether. Sam Billings, we know, is a very good player as well. And that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you very much, buddy, for joining me. Um, we cannot wait for the season to start. All the best for Delhi Capitals. Hope to go one step ahead. Um, and hopefully Chennai can make a comeback this season and probably qualify for the playoffs. Hope to catch you soon, mate, on the other side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prasanna. It was great talking to you. I hope Chennai do well. However, I feel that them not playing at Chepauk is going to be a huge factor considering
Yeah.
their chances. As even Stephen Fleming had mentioned it last season that they really missed playing at Chepauk. So it would be interesting to see how they manage their resources. And as far as guessing CSK 11 is concerned, it's very difficult because of the options that are there. I definitely see Moin Ali playing at some stage, considering the amount that he had gone for in the auction. Similarly, for I see Krishnappa Gautam playing at some stage because last season MS showed that he's probably not that confident in Jadeja's bowling. I won't
Mhm.
be surprised if Jadeja plays slightly up in the batting order, and yeah, a lot to look forward to, and hope it's a great game.
Thank you, buddy. See you later soon.
Thank you. Great. Bye.